You see someone with what you want, the success you've been chasing, the relationship that looks effortless, the body that turns heads, the recognition that feels like oxygen, the freedom that money buys, the life that looks easy from the outside. And something moves in your chest, something sharp, something you've been taught to hide, something that makes you feel small and petty and ashamed. You scroll past their post. You smile when they tell you about their promotion. You congratulate them on their engagement. You say all the right words. But underneath, that feeling sits, coiled, waiting. And you hate yourself for it, because you've been told that this feeling makes you a bad person, that good people are happy for others, that secure people don't compare themselves, that healthy people celebrate other people's wins without reservation. So you push it down. You pretend it's not there. You perform gratitude and celebration while that sharp thing twists deeper. And all the while, that feeling is trying to tell you something critical, something that could change your entire life if you knew how to listen. But you can't listen, because you don't even have the right words for what you're feeling. You think it's all the same thing, all just ugly, shameful wanting, all just evidence of your inadequacy, all just proof that you're not evolved enough, not spiritual enough, not secure enough. You're wrong. There are two completely different forces at work, two different emotions that feel similar, but point in opposite directions. One will destroy you. One will build you. And the difference between them is the difference between poison and fuel. Friedrich Nietzsche spent his life thinking about this, about resentment, about comparison, about the strange alchemy that happens when humans measure themselves against each other. And he discovered something that most people never learn, something that could save you years of misdirected energy and wasted life. He discovered that not all comparison is created equal. If you're watching this, you've felt both. You just don't know which is which. Let me show you the first force, the destructive one, the one Nietzsche warned about. He called it ressentiment, not resentment, ressentiment, a French word because the concept needed more precision than the English provided. It's the feeling that says, I don't want you to have that. Not I want that too. Not I'm inspired by what you've achieved. Not I see a path and I'm going to take it. Just, I don't want you to have that. This is jealousy in its purest form, and it's poison. Here's how you know you're in it. Someone succeeds, and your first thought isn't about yourself. It's about them, about how they don't deserve it, about how they got lucky, about how they had advantages you didn't have, about how if people really knew them, they'd see through the performance. You start building a case against their worth, against their achievement, against the validity of their success. They only got promoted because of who they know. Their relationship only looks good on Instagram. Their business only worked because of timing. Their body is only like that because they have a personal trainer. Notice what you're doing. You're not looking at your own path. You're not using their success as information about what's possible. You're not asking what you could learn. You're not asking what you could learn. You're tearing them down. In your mind. In conversations with others. In the stories you tell yourself to make their winning feel less painful. This is the mechanism Nietzsche saw clearly. When you cannot reach the heights, you declare the heights worthless. When you cannot have the thing, you decide the thing is corrupt. When you cannot match the achievement, you question whether it's really an achievement at all. He called this slave morality. The morality of people who have given up on their own power and instead try to make power itself seem evil. And here's the trap. It feels righteous. It feels like you're seeing through illusions, like you're the only one smart enough to recognize that success is mostly luck, that beauty is mostly genes, that achievement is mostly privilege. You're not being insightful. You're coping. You're protecting your ego from the painful truth that they did something you haven't done, that they are something you aren't yet. And while you're busy building that case, busy protecting yourself from the pain of comparison, you're guaranteeing that you'll never close the gap, because all your energy is going toward making the gap seem meaningless, toward convincing yourself that you don't really want what they have anyway, toward declaring that their grapes are probably sour. This is jealousy, and it will destroy you. Not quickly, slowly, by turning you into someone who measures success by other people's failures, who feels good only when others feel bad, who builds identity around not being them rather than becoming anything yourself. Nietzsche saw this everywhere, in morality, in politics, in social movements, in individual psychology. This desperate need to tear down anyone who reminds you of your own unrealized potential. And he had no patience for it. He called it the revenge of the weak, the last refuge of people who have given up on themselves. But he also saw something else, a different response to comparison, a different way to metabolize the pain of seeing someone with what you want. Here's the second force, the one that builds empires. It says, I want that too. Not, I don't want you to have it. Not, you don't deserve it. Not, that thing is actually worthless. Just, I want that too. And I'm going to figure out how to get it. This is envy, and it's fuel. Here's how you know you're in it. Someone succeeds, and your attention immediately goes to yourself. Not to whether they deserved it, not to whether it's real, to whether you could do it too, to what it would take, to whether you're willing to pay the price. You don't build a case against them. You build a map toward the thing. What did they do that I haven't done? What do they know that I don't know? What skills did they develop? What risks did they take? What sacrifices did they make? You're using their success as information, as proof of concept, as evidence that the thing is possible. If they can do it, maybe I can too. Not because we're the same, but because they're human, and so am I. Because they started somewhere and built something, and if they did it, the path exists. This is envy, and Nietzsche understood it as a force for elevation. Not comfortable elevation, not easy elevation, but elevation nonetheless. When you feel envy, you're feeling the gap between where you are and where you could be. You're feeling your own unrealized potential. You're feeling the call of something you're not yet, but could become. That feeling is uncomfortable. It should be. It's showing you work you haven't done, skills you haven't built, discipline you haven't developed, risks you haven't taken. But unlike jealousy, envy doesn't try to make the discomfort go away by diminishing the target. It tries to make the discomfort go away by closing the gap. Jealousy says, they shouldn't have that. Envy says, I should have that too. Jealousy is passive. It's spectating. It's commentary. Envy is active. It's building. It's pursuit. Jealousy makes you smaller. Envy makes you bigger. And here's the paradox. The person who triggers your envy is giving you a gift. They're showing you what you want. They're proving it's possible. They're mapping a territory you didn't know existed. But only if you know how to receive the gift. Only if you can separate the information from the emotion. Only if you can feel the discomfort without collapsing into resentment. So how do you know which one you're feeling? Ask yourself one question. Be honest. Your answer will tell you everything. When you think about this person's success, do you want them to lose it? If yes, you're in jealousy. You're in poison. You need to stop what you're doing and examine what's happening inside you. If no, if you genuinely want them to keep succeeding while you also build your own success, you're in envy. You're in fuel. You can use this. But there's a complication. Most people feel both. At the same time, in waves, you see someone's achievement, and for a moment, you feel inspired. You think about what's possible. You feel motivated to work harder. Then the inspiration curdles. You start noticing their advantages. You start questioning whether it's real. You start feeling resentful that it came easy for them, while everything is hard for you. This is normal. This is human. The question isn't whether you feel jealousy. The question is what you do with it. Do you feed it? Do you indulge it? Do you sit in conversations where everyone tears down the successful person? Do you consume media that confirms your suspicion that success is mostly luck and privilege? Or do you catch yourself? Do you notice the jealousy, acknowledge it, and then deliberately redirect toward envy, toward what you could learn, toward what you could do, toward your own path? Here's a framework. When you feel that sharp thing in your chest, pause. Ask yourself, what specifically am I reacting to? Not just their success. What aspect? The money? The recognition? The freedom? The respect? The relationship? The body? The life? Be specific, because that specificity tells you what you actually value, what you're actually hungry for, what you've been denying yourself or telling yourself you shouldn't want. Then ask, am I making up stories about why they don't deserve this? If yes, stop. You're in jealousy. You're poisoning yourself. Whatever story you're telling, it's a defense mechanism. It's protecting you from feeling inadequate, but it's also preventing you from growing. Then ask, what would I need to do to build this for myself? Not to take it from them, to build it. What skills? What knowledge? What risks? What sacrifices? What changes in how I spend my time, my energy, my attention? If you can't answer that question, you're still in jealousy, because you're treating the thing as magical, as something that happens to people rather than something people build. If you can answer it, you're moving toward envy, toward fuel, toward agency. Here's what most people miss. Envy is not comfortable. It's not positive thinking. It's not celebrating other people's success with a pure heart. It's still painful. It still involves facing your own inadequacy. It still requires you to acknowledge the gap between where you are and where you want to be. The difference is what you do with that pain. Nietzsche wrote about this extensively. He talked about sublimation, about taking base impulses and transforming them into higher pursuits, about using the energy of resentment as fuel for self-overcoming. This is not suppression, not denial, not pretending you don't feel what you feel. It's alchemy. Taking the sharp feeling and asking, what is this trying to tell me? What do I actually want? What am I willing to do about it? Here's the practice. Every time you feel comparison pain, every time someone's success triggers you, write down 3 things. 1, what specifically do I want that they have? Not the whole package, the specific thing. Get granular. If it's money, how much? If it's recognition, from whom? If it's freedom, what kind? If it's a relationship, what qualities? 2, why do I want this? Not should you want it. Not whether it's spiritually evolved to want it. Why do you actually want it? What would it give you? What would it change about your life? Be honest. Even if the answer is shallow. Even if the answer is that you want external validation. Even if the answer is that you want to feel superior. Write it down, because you can't transmute what you won't acknowledge. 3, what is one action I could take this week toward building this? Not someday. This week. One concrete action. Research. Outreach. Practice. Learning. Application. Building. Something that moves you from spectator to participant. This is how you turn envy into fuel. Not by feeling good about other people's success, by using their success as proof of concept and getting to work. But I need to tell you something critical, something most content about ambition leaves out. Not all envy should be pursued. Sometimes the thing you envy is not actually aligned with your values. It's just shiny. It's just impressive. It's just something culture told you to want. Sometimes the envy is real, but the cost is too high. The sacrifice required is not one you're actually willing to make. And that's fine. That's information. Sometimes the envy is pointing at something you can build, but not the way they built it. Your path will be different. Your timeline will be different. Your version will be different. And sometimes the healthiest response is to stop looking, to stop comparing, to build boundaries between you and the comparison triggers. This is not the same as jealousy. This is not tearing them down or declaring the thing worthless. This is recognizing that not every path is your path. Not every success is relevant to your journey. Not every comparison is useful. Envy becomes destructive when it's constant, when you can never just be where you are, when every interaction is an opportunity to measure yourself and find yourself lacking. That's not fuel. That's erosion. That's wearing yourself down in service of an impossible standard based on everyone else's highlight reel. So here's the distinction. Envy is useful when it shows you something you genuinely want and are willing to work for. Something aligned with your actual values. Something worth the real cost. Envy is destructive when it becomes chronic, when you're perpetually dissatisfied, when you can never be enough because there's always someone ahead, when the pursuit is joyless and the achievement brings no satisfaction because you immediately find someone who's done it better. Know the difference. Choose your envies carefully. Not every gap needs to be closed. Not every achievement needs to be matched. Not every person's success is relevant to your life. So here's what you need to understand about that sharp feeling in your chest. It's information, critical information, about what you want, about what you value, about where you're capable of growing. But information can be used or misused. It can fuel your evolution or fuel your resentment. Jealousy says, take from them, diminish them, make their success mean less, so your lack of success hurts less. Envy says, learn from them, build like them, use their existence as proof that the thing you want is possible. One shrinks your world. One expands it. One makes you bitter. One makes you better. One is passive revenge fantasy. One is active self-creation. The question is, which one you're going to feed? Because both will always be available. Both will always whisper. The jealous voice will tell you stories about unfairness and advantage and luck. The envious voice will tell you stories about possibility and work and growth. You get to choose which voice becomes your inner compass. Nietzsche believed that the highest humans were those who could transmute pain into power, who could feel the full force of their inadequacy and use it as motivation rather than excuse, who could see greatness in others and think not, they don't deserve that, but I'm going to build that too. This is what he meant by the will to power, not power over others, power to create yourself, to become what you're capable of becoming, to feel envy and say, yes, I want that, and then do the work. Most people will choose jealousy because it's easier, because it protects the ego, because it lets you stay exactly where you are while feeling morally superior to those who've gone further. But you're not most people. You wouldn't be watching this if you were. You're someone who feels the sharp thing and wants to know what to do with it. Someone who's tired of the shame. Someone who's ready to use the fuel. So use it. Feel the envy. Let it show you what you want. Let it prove what's possible. Let it light a fire under you. Then get to work, not to take from anyone, to build for yourself. That's the difference. That's everything. One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star. Envy is the chaos that shows you what you're capable of becoming. The question is whether you have the courage to transmute it.